What's going on, guys? It's James Patrick here with another episode of the Black Queer Culture Show. And today we're going to be talking about the culture of media.
Mm.
The culture of media. I have had the pleasure of being in media. The first day that I got on TV was WLTX in Columbia, South Carolina. And I was so excited. I think I might have been 19. And Darcy Strickland was supposed to interview me, and one of the ladies pulls me out the green room. She goes, "We may have to reschedule your interview," and I'm just like, "Like what?" She goes, Apparently Michael Jackson is in the hospital, and she said it's not looking good. We don't know what's going on." As she's talking to me, there's somebody in the back in like upstairs. She
Yeah.
goes, "They're saying he's dead," and like you can hear her screaming from and so the lady goes, "I'll be right back," and my selfish ass goes, because I brought one of my friends with me, and I go, "So I'm not going to be on TV today?"
Oh my goodness, James!
And he looked at me. He was like, "No, I don't think so. Like Michael Jackson is dead." And so it was my first time being on TV. Many moons have passed since then. And in my many encounters, the universe led it to be, where I work with you in such close proximity. Without further ado, I want to introduce my guest today. She's an award-winning media specialist. She has curated, produced, co-produced 1,000,001 segments that you and your mama and your aunties have all seen. And she's also one of my very, very good friends. Sierra Artemis is in the building. Make some noise.
Oh my goodness, James! I'm so excited, and I'm so glad that you invited me to be your guest today. And I'm excited because I know we're gonna have a good time. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot have Sierra and James
You just can't.
You can't have Sierra Artemis and James Patrick in a room and we not have fun. But can we just go back? Not you tried to take Michael Jackson's shine away. Even in his passing, that was his moment. And James is like, "So what about what I need? What about me?"
I took it. I was so mad. I said, and like it's like my heart just fell
moment.
Because like she thought I was, feeling, the disappointment from Michael. And I was like, and I look back and I go, "So I'm not going to be on TV today?"
He had a Carl Thomas moment, but what about me? That's crazy. But you know what? I can say, because I'm pretty sure everybody knows what they were doing that day with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And that was yours. Mine doesn't live up to yours. I'll just say that. I was a cheerleader. I was still in high school. We had cheer practice. My coach said, "Go home. Michael's gone." We cried for a little bit. Call your rides.
Yeah, because we're not going to be able to.
We can't get through this.
Yeah.
How can we cheer?
It's
not a joyous occasion.
Well, Michael Jackson is cold. He is gone.
He's gone.
It was a very disappointing day. Nevertheless,
yeah,
I had the opportunity to get back on TV. Mm-hmm. And, fast forward, I don't know, what has that been? 14 years now? 15 years?
I'll say 15 to 16. 2000, when was it? 2009? 2008? Either way.
Yeah.
Either way, since then, you have made your appearance despite, you know, that one setback that first time.
That one setback. But it propelled me. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what else it taught me. It taught me that in media, anything can happen. Anything can happen. You can have prepared for a segment for a week and get there, and there could be breaking news.
Ooh.
And guess what?
And you know what? That's just a glimpse into what it's like behind the camera.
Yes.
When you have to work as a producer, you can be putting the show together, and you could have maybe even worked on it all week. You know, like, I know this is the day I want to focus on this, or I've worked on this show all day, and then there will be a breaking or a special report or something, and all your hard work it's
just gone,
just flushed, and you'll never be able to do it again because the thing about television is, number one, the show must go on, but number two, it's all about timeliness. Is it clear, correct, concise, current? And if incorrect, it's 5 C's of it. But baby, that ship has sailed and it's never coming back.
It's not coming back.
No, sometimes
it's not coming back
for the most part. No.
I remember showing up at WIS, and I had a dozen boxes of shoes that Fleet Feet let me borrow so that I could create a set. And like to finish, and I get that I've got shoe boxes all like, you remember how Cruella DeVille was driving in 101 Dalmatians, like just like all over the whole street. Like I was just all over the goddamn street, and I remember like pulling up illegally, and I get through security, and I go through the front to open that side door, and as I'm walking through, like somebody stopped me. I do not remember the name. Someone stopped me and they were like, we might need to like
reschedule.
Like we might need to reschedule. I'm not sure. Hold on for a second. And like my nervous system is just like,
please not today. No. First of all, you have trauma now. Every time you hear that, you go back to 2009.
Right.
And you just you
my body relives.
Oh.
Yes. So I'm just like, okay, all right. And sure enough, they were like, we can. And so I had to go back to Fleet Feet, and shout out to Fleet Feet in Columbia, and they had to help me unload all the boxes. But I've learned so much in the past 3 years, really in the past 15 years, but in the past 3 years, I've learned and I've grown so much. And I have you to thank for that, because, there were so many times where like I had to draw from, watching you be on live television and maintain a sense of decorum, or, just going through life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And me knowing like you personally, and you're like, doing it, like there's no issue. You've never carried that onto the set. And, no matter how heavy this or that or the third was. What I do want to ask you is, when did you decide that what was the thing for little Sierra that made her like want to become a media personality?
I'll tell you what, there were so many things that I wanted to do. There were so many things that I had dabbled in at that point in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I've always heard the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. And there were so many things that I felt like I could thrive in, but it was really hard to just hone in and focus on what that one thing would be. And for me, I've always been an artistic person. Art is in my name, ARTEMUS. Yeah. And I always say art is a must for me. I loved graphic art. That's what I thought I was going to do. I'll say that again. I love graphic art, and I thought that's what I would do. And I had already had my mindset on going to SCAD, and I was in honors art. I did visual art, also did graphic design. And I remember one day I went to the mall, and there was this guy at a photography studio. And I saw he was using Photoshop. And I said, I don't know how to use that. He said, wow, I don't. And I was in 11th grade. And I said, I'll show you if you pay me. And and I showed him. And mind you, he only gave me $20 because legally he couldn't really pay me. But for me, $20, every single day. I come here every day after school, $20. I mean, that's like $100 a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a good start.
It's a good start. And so it was in that moment I realized, if I'm doing this now in high school, and why would I even need to go to college and pay for this?
Yeah.
I wanted to go to college because in my mind, I remember watching Roots when I was 5 years old, and a bunch of other shows, talking about slavery and how, Black people. It wasn't. We weren't meant to be educated. It wasn't meant for us to know. It wasn't meant for us to know anything at all. And people would have their thing. I just remember being 5 years old, thinking, "Man, there are people that died for me to be able to learn how to read and write." And I learned how to read when I was 3. Fun fact, because my grandfather made me read the newspaper, and I watched the Today Show every single day.
Yes,
and that was with Big Al, not little Al Roker we have now.
Yes.
The big Al.
Yes,
when the Owls were big. Al Sharpton was bigger. Al Roker was bigger.
Yeah.
And even in kindergarten, preschool, I watched the Today Show every day. And I remember being a kid and watching Oprah and just that being the one black woman that was very successful and on television at that time, and how people listened to her, and she said things that were so important, and people wanted to listen to her. Like, the room was quiet. I mean, and not only did she focus on one group of people, there was other people too. Now, there were other women on television at that time, like Rolanda Watts. I really love her. Really love her now. That's a side note for another situation. I've actually spoken to her on the phone because she does voice acting classes. And like, that lady is phenomenal, you know, and she's so personable, even though she has achieved so much. But Rolanda was more accessible than Oprah is, because I can't just pick up a phone and call Oprah and say, "Hey, girl, how you doing?"
Yeah.
But for me, it was just like, I knew there were so many things that I could possibly do. And when it was time to go to college, I had already decided, all right, the graphic design is off the table. I can do that. I can go online and learn how to do more of that. That can be recreational. I don't want this to be a job. I don't want this to be a career.
Yeah.
And then it was political science. That happened while I was actually in school. I hated government. I hated politics. I hated all of that. And I mean, I remember having to take U.S. history, and I hated it. I always loved history, but U.S. history was something about that just drew all the Z's out of me.
Yeah.
And I remember having a professor, and I can't forget his name because it had that much of an impact on me. Shikari Shabaga. He basically cussed our entire class out because he was like, "It's no reason all y'all are failing." And he was like, "I don't know if y'all don't know how to study. I don't know if it's whatever." But he basically lectured us. You know, you get a lecture in school, but he gave us a lecture. He just let us all have it. He was like, "Do y'all not realize this is your life? This is not just, you know, boring stories of old white men of days before. This is your life. This is every day." And I mean, in that moment, it clicked for me. And I mean, from there, I was able to pull my grade up to a B. And mind you, it was like the middle of the quarter, you know, it's a semester, it's like a half of a year. But that next quarter, I mean, I blew it out of the water. I remember writing a 41-page paper. This was Obama's second term. I watched the entire election. I wrote that paper. I got an A on that assignment. I mean, it really clicked for me. And I said, you know, I think I want to do politics. I think I want to go to school. I want to, you know, be a lawyer. I want to become a senator. I want to work in office. I want to teach young people. I want to teach them. I want to make this digestible.
Yeah.
I want to make this digestible. So, you know, I went to USC. I did poli-sci. I took international relations. I did all of those things, but my credit didn't transfer. So I went right back to Midlands Tech. And at that point, I was like, you know, do we really want to do poli-sci? Is that something, or maybe that could be a focus area? Because I used to watch the news with my granddad. My granddad's like my best friend. So I always go back to like, what were some of the things that you enjoyed doing with granddad? What would make granddaddy proud, but also make you feel proud at the same time?
Yeah.
I know this is a lot, and I'm so sorry, because people don't realize, people don't wake up in the morning and make a decision. There's so many factors that go into making that decision.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I used to like watching political commentators and the things that they would say. And I'm like, you have to know what you're talking about to talk about it. So I wanted to know as much as I could possibly know so that I can talk about it. And people be like, she is smart. She knows things.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what can I do? What is a field that I can do that I will enjoy, because I love people, I love community. I was like, at one point, I didn't even want to do anything anymore. I want to be a community activist and a youth advocate. I want to just cater to the youth, just straight up.
Wow.
Because I remember being alone and lonely as a child and not feeling like I fit in, and you know, not knowing what avenue was for me and who was for me, and in that space where I didn't know, you know, and that's why I said I loved Oprah, because I felt like people listened to her. She was important enough. The things she said was important enough that it got the attention of people, and that's what I wanted to do. So I said, you know what, if we're gonna get paid, let's get paid to talk, baby, because we good at it. You see it right now, right? I said,
She's good at it.
We might as well get a check.
She's very good at it.
We might as well get a check. So that was when I decided, you know, I want to go to school. 2016, went back to school. It was actually after I lost my best friend, which was very challenging, but I fought through it. And I have her and, you know, our entire 6 years we had together to thank for that. She was one of those people, keep going no matter what's going on in your life. So I had her in the back of my mind. did that, went to USC, and I thought I was going to be an anchor right off the bat, and I ended up being a producer, and everything came after. And I'm grateful in the order in which things happened. But I said all of that to say that one question you asked, which was who was it and why? But yeah, just being able to know that there are things that are obtainable. And I think what made it even feel more obtainable is when you hear the backstories of, what people went through in order for them to get to where they are now. And it makes you feel like, okay, I'm on the right track, obviously, because we don't just wake up and become successful. You got to go through some mess.
Some serious shit. There was a show, and I know you remember, on VH1 called Behind the Music.
Yes.
And I was engulfed in that show because I got to see, that these were real people that went through real. We all saw the TLC documentary, when Lisa Left Eye Lopez breaks down the numbers, and the points, and
we are broke.
We are broke.
Not y'all saying y'all don't want no scrubs, and y'all the scrubs.
Baroque with a BRUUUK.
Baroque.
And it gave me, it made me feel like, okay, well, they went through things, and I am not exempt from going through things, And
I preach.
One of the things that I saw, the pattern about it that stuck out to me was, the worse their situations were, the more shit that they went through, the bigger, the better, the more amazing they became. Now, the more drugs they might have used at some point, but the better they became in the long run. Like, it made them into these amazing, mega superstars. Or so there's divine timing, the synchronization that goes on. And there's so many moments where we think we're ready, but we're just not. The universe says, no, not yet.
Oh, because it's so much you have to be. It's almost like when you're training, you cannot just go to war.
Yeah.
You have to go through the mud because you have to be prepared for what could possibly happen.
Yeah.
One of my friends, and I got to get a shout out to Bobby G. He ministered to me the other day. He said, think of it like a slingshot. The further you get pulled back, the further the trajectory is.
Yeah.
So the setbacks is just setting you up to go forward even further. So the further you feel like you being pulled back, because the saying goes, you take 4 steps back and you got to take 4 steps forward. It's almost like you never really move. But baby, you gotta back up to go forward.
You gotta back up.
Yeah, you got to remember what it was like, because that's going to be your motivation to keep going. Yeah. And people feel like once you get to the top, like think of Rocky when he ran up those stairs in Philadelphia and ran to the top and he was victorious. When you're at the top, you got to maintain that. So what we are experiencing in this level, in this stage, in this season of our life is conditioning.
Yes. Conditioning. Conditioning.
Shampoo, conditioner, and rinse.
And rinse.
And what do you
repeat.
And what do you do after you put conditioner in? You put your styling products in.
Your styling products in.
Maintenance.
You got to maintain. Maintenance is key. I've found, Sierra, that maintenance and self-preservation, often intermingle. And I found that so important. That was an important lesson in my life. The beginning of last year, when I decided that I was going to switch gears, I took a few months of personal training, and I just wasn't doing nothing with fitness. I didn't want to train. I didn't want to teach no classes. I might do a pop-up here and there, but in order to maintain the longevity of a career that I wanted, because I still want to be able to do all the things that I'm doing now, for as long as I can possibly do them, I took a step back. And I remember talking to a couple of friends at the time, just crying and complaining about, I feel like I did all this work in my 20s and look where I am. And that slingshot effect made such a profound impact on my life as an entrepreneur and as a person, because it gave me spaciousness to recreate the brand that I saw, and expound on that brand. And, I don't just have to teach, twerk classes. You just don't have to be, behind the camera producing. You can do so many things. I can, I went and got my certification for Pilates last September, and then I learned how to, use sound bowls. And so I learned how to expound on a creative part of me that I really otherwise wouldn't have had the introspection to have done so. I know you know about what recreating the wheel looks like. And I know that you spent some time figuring out how to recreate that wheel. How does present Sierra feel now about what the past Sierra had to do in order to get here?
All my life I had to fight.
All my life.
Let me tell you, as you were speaking, I thought of something. Because like you, I have been hustling since, and people didn't see it, but I have been hustling for a very, very long time. People are just now starting to see the fruits of that labor, though. But the problem about being so young and being a hustler so young is that you focus so much on the growth of the career and the things that you want to do that you don't realize you are actually growing too. You have to nurture both.
Yeah.
You have to nurture the skills, but you also have to nurture you. We focus so much on the thing, what it is I'm good at, what it is I want to do, that we forget that we are also evolving in age and in experience. And it's like your success has your inner growth has to catch up with that. It is an internal race.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like in this season, we are all kind of going through this. Where do I go from here? How do I get there from here? But the problem is you have everything has to catch up with itself.
Yeah.
We're at this point in our life because we hustled so early.
Yeah.
That race is coming to the finish line.
Yeah.
We now from here, we need to be growing ourselves and our skills
together.
Yeah. You can't be mature in your professional life, but still immature here.
Yeah.
It happens more than people realize, but you have to recognize it. And I'm coming to recognize that. And it's scary because it's like and that's when you deal with that internal battle when you think, I'm not doing enough. And it's not that you're not doing enough. The things take time. And we're impatient because we want that instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And for me, I had this conversation with my mom the other day. She was like, you get your entrepreneurial spirit from me. You and your sister from me. No. It comes from survival.
Yeah.
It is survival. It is straight up survival. And I realized in the past year that I operate in survival. My thing is, I know what it's like to struggle and I don't want to. So I have to always outdo the last version of myself. I am constantly in a battle and trying to compete with me.
Yeah.
I'm competing. People say, oh, I don't compete with anybody but myself. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't see nobody else. What I want to do is not what anybody else wants to do.
Yeah.
If I pass you on my way and you think it's competition, it's not. I'm competing with me.
Yeah.
I have to live with me and the decisions that I make every day. Yeah. I don't think what I eat, I don't care how anybody else excretes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I call myself, I've always considered myself a chameleon as a kid. I always adapt to any environment that I'm in. I'm Bruce Lee, I'm water. I conform to whatever situation I'm in. But I'm realizing now I am, how do I put this? Because I've already expressed that, like, I'm competing with myself, but it's like I'm the master of a rebrand.
Yeah.
Things happen, and instead of sitting there and wallowing saying, well, why didn't this work out for me? Why didn't this happen the way that I wanted? I go back and I say, well, how do we rebrand this?
Yeah.
You went to school for PR. A lot of people think a lot of the skills that I learned came from school. School helped, but a lot of this is me. A lot of this is trial and error from life and things that I've wanted to do. I've had more than one business. I owned a business. I had a mobile wax business, LLC'd. Like, I had a business and then did television. I do things out of order. And there are times, and it wasn't until I worked at WIS that I felt like I had, I dealt with imposter syndrome. Because I felt like, mind you, it took me 11 years to finish undergrad. And the people that are my age, I feel like they're more polished in this than I am. But I think about my life, I'm like, girl, nothing you have done has ever been in order.
Yeah.
I ended up on television from producing just because I wanted to be on TV. It's like it was like I'm waiting for my chance. When do I get to be on TV? Not now. I'm like, I took the producer role because it was like the opportunity for me to be on TV it wasn't available yet.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the opportunity becomes available. And then I start I was the first day, I will not forget the first time that I, as producer and host, actually hosted Soda City Live was with a good friend, Intisar Faulkner. We were both filling in one day.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I had this burst of energy and I felt like this is my moment.
Yeah.
And I was so excited, but I didn't focus on the camera. I was so excited to be there with Intisar.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, one of the people, when I first started working at WIS, I adore her. I don't think I tell her that enough. So Intisar, if you're walking, girl, you are like that. Intisar she's very professional on and off camera. She's funny. She is fashionable. She is personable. She is down to earth. She knows what she's talking about. And she's confident and she walks in that. Mm-hmm. She does not, even if she has anything going on in her life, we don't know it. She doesn't show it. And she don't talk about it. She just pushes. Mm-hmm. And she's way younger than me, but I'm like, girl, you are like that. And so when I got to host with her, I was so excited and I'm this and that. But I get back to the room and our, what's her name? She was our assistant director. What was that? Excuse me. I was proud of me. I didn't make us look bad. Okay. The show went on. I produced it. The only thing I didn't do was booth. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm thinking, and this is a black woman now. I'm thinking you are going to be proud. I'm representing for the team.
Yeah.
And she was like, what is that? They don't know you. They don't know you. Why didn't you don't talk over her? I'm like, oh my God, I thought I did pretty good for my first time on TV. I'm like, I didn't and I'm like, yo, it was in that moment I realized that, you hear the story, kinfolk.
Mm-hmm.
Skinfolk ain't kinfolk. And I felt like this was an opportunity for you to train me or tell me what I can do, what I can, but not yelling at me and then making me feel less than. That was the moment I remember I started feeling the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, creep in.
So am I not good enough?
Yeah.
Do I not belong here?
Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to do, is this not for me?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to deal with battling that.
Yeah.
And then I remember I started getting booked to MC, which is now one of the biggest passions of mine, being able to speak in places and people actually care. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Wanting to be like Oprah. And again, going back to that, feeling like the things I say are important enough for people to hear.
Yeah.
And I remember I grew up watching television. I grew up watching Judy Gatson and Darcy Strickland. And I felt like I've been to a few events where they've spoken. And I felt like when I went in these spaces, people wanted me to look like them, sound like them, be poised like them. Because I think Judy is very classy. She is a
very classy.
She is,
lady,
let me tell you, Judy,
classy all day, classy all afternoon.
Class. I mean, she is the epitome of class and elegance. And Darcy is too. But Darcy was younger. She was kind of close, not closer to my age, but just a little bit older. And so I was excited when she got on TV. I remember that. And I just remember, I admired them.
Yeah.
And I went in spaces and I thought, this is what people want me to look like. This is what they want me to be. This is who they want me to be. And I have to emulate that. And I remember doing it and being so bored. No offense to anybody. I'm saying it because it wasn't me.
Yeah.
I remember one event, I was so tired, boy, I just started cutting up and I was just me.
Yeah.
And they laughed and we had a good time and everybody and then I got invited back. And I realized, because there were some places I didn't get called back to. And when I started being me, people wanted me to do the same event. Like I would be the recurring MC every year. Yeah. Or more people will reach out to me to do things. And I said, you know what? That person, I felt like people, when I was a kid, I felt ostracized. I felt different because I've always had a lot of energy. I think I have ADHD and I think my son has it too.
Absolutely.
I've been diagnosed recently.
I think it's why we connect so well.
ADHD,
yeah, we're spectrum,
depression,
yes,
all of the things,
the things I couldn't,
neurodivergent, all of the things. And I think some people, all I've ever wanted was to, and I don't want to say just to fit in, I want people to see me for who I am and appreciate me for who I am. I love everybody. I love all things. I am not a drama person. I do not like drama. I always say I don't like conflict.
Yeah.
I've always considered myself to be very rational, and my sister Desiree, yes, she could be a little irrational, but my sister, what I'll say is, my sister is zero nonsense. And me, I'm always giving people the benefit of the doubt. My sister's like, no, you got one time, baby.
One time.
And me, I'm like, just one more chance. Yeah. They're human. We're human with flaws.
Yeah. I'm in between, because I'll be like, oh, yeah, but that one time?
Yes.
That one time be the end. I'm like, no, you never heard from me ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I am a lover of people, of all things. I love God. I try to love people the way I'm sure God loves us. I ain't judgmental. I let people live their life.
Yeah.
Do you boo boo? But and I had to get to a point, especially working in this field where you deal with so many personalities. Like you gotta take it for what it is. Everybody ain't gonna like you, and you just you just gotta keep it moving, keep it pushing.
Yeah. I wanted to, and I don't think I've ever had the chance to talk to anybody about this, but like, being, I often joke about that Michael Jackson story, but there's, as of late, I would say in the past year, I've kind of reminisced on that, like in that timeline, and thought about how little representation I saw, with black men being on television. We had Curtis Wilson,
Rick Henry was the first of the WIS.
He was one of the first of the first, and I had no one to draw from when I started, and even though I was doing small segments, it was live television. You know what I mean? I was on TV at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or midday or 3:30 for Soda City, but it took years for me to find the proper inspiration, and so I drew from the same sources. Watching. If I couldn't find a man that I could draw from,
Montel.
I mean, I didn't think I looked good with a bald head and a goatee at the time, but I did find I drew a lot of inspiration from like the Darcy Stricklands and from the Judy Gassens and from Sierras and from even from like Susan Alday Fisher, like back in the day, like the elegance, and the ability to capture people's attention without being boisterous.
That's the big part.
Not to say that if I'm black, I need to be silent or quiet,
right.
But there's an amount of elegance and elocution that you've got to kind of carry that if you're going to be in media. And I'm sure you would agree. Like,
can I just tell you, because I remember you just said like a little while ago, you said something about you knew things that were going on in my life and just how it didn't appear on TV. You too.
Yeah.
Can I just say candidly, but there'll be times we like, where is James at? And right on cue, he's ready for his appearance on TV.
I'm ready.
When he's ready to go. People don't realize it's chaos. We had to move James so many times because something was happening. But we made sure we got James in that show. We had to pre-record. We did something because life happens.
Life is happening.
And you say, and the same thing for me. Like I feel like sometimes, I'll just say this. I remember being a kid, and even when I was a young adult, getting into this industry, wanting to have a mentor and practically begging people to be my mentor. Nobody wanted to be my mentor. I'm like, am I not good enough? Like, those are questions you always get. Am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? But when I finally got that opportunity, anytime a young person says, hey, I want to go on media, I take them I give them my phone number, my personal number. You call me. I give it to their parents. You call me. I remember good friend Tamika Isaac Devine, her daughter wanted to shadow. Come on, bring her on. She fell asleep on me, and I sent the picture to Tamika. But I was like, I want to be what I needed.
Yeah.
And I want to be who I needed more than ever now, especially in this day and age where social media is on you. You got social media and technology in your hand. You ain't got to sit and wait for AOL to dial up and sit there and wait for your friends to come on AOL chat. Like, they are right here and now, the instant. And I think about you, James, and I think about, you said you didn't necessarily have that representation. You are. Yeah. You are representing the little brown queer boys that don't have anyone else to look up to because they feel like they have to be someone society wants them to be instead of who they are, like a James Patrick.
Yeah.
And I love your uniqueness, especially what you bring to the camera. You're just so authentic. And I think in a world where everyone feels pressured to be someone they are not, or in a world, I'm getting chills and I want to cry and I didn't think I was going to need my Kleenex, but in a world where we all feel like we have to be successful before we even accomplish anything, you show up and you are you. You're not trying to be anyone else. You show up and you are James Patrick. And you have built this brand brick by brick. You built this brand. You are this person and who you are. And I think that's really what matters. I want to be able to meet James Patrick as a person that doesn't know James Patrick and get the same James Patrick.
Yeah.
I want to be on aisle 9 getting macaroni,
yes,
pasta noodles, and say, you that boy from TV, because I know you said that happened to you before. Jesus. And you be that person.
Yeah.
And I strive for that too. Even though I'm not on the same platform that I was at one point. That wasn't for me. Yeah. And I get it all the time. Why did you leave? It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm still who I am because what we do isn't who we are.
Exactly.
And even it doesn't matter what space you show up in, you still show up in that space as you.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes when people ask, why aren't you doing the thing that you know me for?
Yeah.
That's not who I know me for. Yeah. And I'm still growing out of that. But I made a vow to myself right before I got in television because experience has been my biggest teacher. I've dealt with grief. I've dealt with national attention when my best friend passed away. I know how to treat those people that are going through things. I still reach out to people whose stories touched me when they lost their loved one and it went on television or their loved one is missing. I still reach out to some people to check on them because they're human. We are all human. And I don't care about a story. You have a story that you live every single day.
Yeah.
People don't realize that when a story goes viral and people are talking about a death or something very serious, when that camera goes off, there's a family, there's a person, there are people that are still dealing with those things. And I treat them like that. I remember I had a bad experience with a television personality one time. I was so excited to meet them and they gave me, this is the worst day of my life and you just so happen to be here on this day. And it made me feel so small. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't matter. I know that I see you and you don't see me. And I was like, I don't ever want anybody to feel that way when they meet me. Ever. It doesn't matter what day, even when I worked in television, because there are people that come on the show that you got to make them feel comfortable because they're not doing the thing that you do every day.
Yeah.
They're not familiar with the camera. I said to myself, I want to make their day better. And that's how I could be depressed as hell. But as soon as I see someone having a bad day and I could turn their day around, it turns mine around.
Yeah.
And so I try to make sure, even on my worst days, if I'm on aisle 9 next to the macaroni noodles and someone says, Sierra Artemis,
yes,
I give you a hug.
Yeah.
I give everybody a hug. And I know there's a thing with transfer energy. I used to be that person, but I'm transferring my energy to you.
Yes.
You can't.
I'm not here to receive.
I'm not here to receive your energy.
I'm here to transfer.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that intention is what takes you such a long ways. And I was just having this conversation earlier about, being out and about, and like I went on a date a couple months ago, and we went to the Kroger Center and the lights turned on, and everybody on the right wing behind me was like, James Patrick. And like, it was to the point one lady was like talking to me and another lady was tapping the guy. I was like, is that James Patrick? He was like, yes. And yes, there are times where it can be so overwhelming.
Yes.
There are days where, I remember like my dad died at 6:34 p.m. on a Wednesday. And I remember walking out of the hospital and I wasn't like distraught, but I was definitely like I just saw him die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I sat there and I watched him and my brain had not even fully, like my psyche hadn't wrapped around it. And I'll never forget there were two women that worked at the hospital and they were walking. I was walking out and they were walking here and my brothers were like a few feet up and they go, oh my God, it's James Patrick. And they're just like, ah. And I didn't have the bandwidth to explain what was going on, but I also didn't have the type of approach that was, unyielding to like I wanted to receive them.
Yeah.
And so I hug them and I thank y'all, thank you so much. And we see y'all on Wednesdays on Soda City. And thank you. But there are just hard moments like that, people don't, it's not that they're not concerned about. If I were seeing somebody in the hospital that I thought I knew, I would probably take a step back.
Like, you good? Because I know nothing, you don't...
Ain't nobody here just to be hanging out.
It could be a baby. It could be you visiting a sick relative.
Yeah.
It could be serious.
It could
Nobody's
be
in the hospital. This is not urgent care.
This is okay. It's not urgent care. It's urgent, baby. But it goes back to being a personality but also
the responsibility.
You've got to accept the responsibility that comes with it. And I really hate to hear people complain so badly about how, they don't want to be seen, don't want. Listen, nobody's more introverted than me, this guy here. I don't talk to. I like being quiet, and I like quiet, but there's a responsibility that comes along with that, and you have to either accept it or you need to find another profession.
Yeah.
And so I commend you for always being available to receive people and to show love, and you're right. Every time that camera turned on, even if I was having a bad day, there was a by the time I got done, I knew that somebody was listening, and it made me feel so much better that, the endorphin rush from that was just and
the adrenaline.
The adrenaline, because there was some adrenaline. There was a lot of sweaty underarms.
Yeah.
But there was a. I'm so grateful, to be in this position. I'm so grateful to, be able to reach people I can't even see, that don't even, I'll never meet maybe.
Ooh, you just said something. I remember when I first started working on that show, it was hell on wheels. I came in on February 9th. That show launched on February 21st. I only had 2 weeks to get that show together. I barely was trained, because every news station you go to, they use different software. You just got to get familiar with this. I wasn't familiar with Nathan. Do you understand? Nathan. And it was just a lot of pressure. And even to this day, the show is working, even though I'm not there. It's such a new show, such a new thing for that station, especially with the equipment and things that we have now, the autonomous world of some of the cameras and things like that we were just throwing ideas to the wall. Every day I'm throwing ideas to the wall. I'm trying to come up with games. I'm trying to figure out what can we do to make this show engaging. I don't want this to be just something that people are just watching. I don't want it to just be we just talking. I want there to be some interaction. I want it to move. I want this show to breathe. And there were times I got offended because I felt like the things that I did for this show, what I was trying to do, it came off, but the people that didn't have their hands involved in it and understood the method to what I was trying to do. It was like, can y'all get your hands out the pot? And I remember there were times where, we're throwing ideas to the wall, seeing what sticks, what works we keep, what doesn't we throw, we toss. And I remember there being people like the director at the time, he's no longer there, but he said, it's trash, it's horrible, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, dude, I just started. You didn't give me, I thought when I took this job, they're like, hey, we got a lifestyle show. I applied to be a reporter, okay? I wanted to start from where you should start. Sorry. I wanted to start where you should start. Get familiar with everything, work your way up. Because I had already been a producer at this point. And I get thrown in to produce a show because you know I have producing experience. I have two different stations I produce for. And I didn't realize it was nothing. I've never built a show from the ground up. Not on TV.
Wow.
I did a podcast from the ground up, but it is not the same thing.
Yeah.
I built that thing. I grew that show from utero.
You really
understand?
Did. Yeah.
And people don't realize that I had nothing to go off of. There was nothing, just the idea. A name, Soda City Live was the only thing they gave me. There was no song. There was a graphic that was made a week before the show launched. Like everything was just boom, 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 boom. And I remember being told, oh, this is horrible. You need to go back to the drawing board. I'm like, oh my God, but you gave me nothing. You didn't help me. Every day I'm getting beat down by our director, our news director, our EP, everybody just, this is bad. And I was like, yo, I came in here with such high hopes, so excited, this and that. I was promised I would be one of the hosts interchangeably. It happened it didn't happen intentionally. It happened on accident because all of the talent start leaving the station and retiring and different things like that. So it came to a point where I had to be on it. Yeah. And I had to do both. But I remember the days that I was so drained and so depressed, and 7 to 7 days. I'm not even supposed to be here 7 to 7, but I'm here 7 to 7 because I want to make sure there's a good show on the air tomorrow. Yeah. I want to make sure that this show, because my prayer to God in 2020, the end of 2021 is, God, I want to go into 2022 intentional. I want everything to be intentional, God. And if it ain't your will, I don't want to do it. Yeah. I turned that job down. Yeah. And the man called me back and was like, no, come on over to death row. And I said, yeah, I'm going to dance in the videos. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the thing. You know what I mean? And I remember I felt beat down. I felt defeated, but I kept going and I kept trying. And I remember those days, the days that I wanted to give up. And I said, God, maybe this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And somebody would come on the show. I remember one dude, I'm not going to say his name, came to me. He was a chef. He was like, I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. And coming on your show, somebody booked me like right after I got off air.
You were really for the culture. I was
able to pay my rent, and that kept me going. Someone said, you are truly a gift.
Yes.
I was so nervous. I was this and I was that. And listen, coming from aesthetics, if you can walk and talk somebody through a bazillion whack, you can talk.
You can do anything,
you can talk
baby.
Through anything. But it was the people who came on that show. It was the viewers that watched the show. It don't matter what crazy whirlwind was happening inside that building, baby. What kept me going and why I dealt with what I dealt with as long as I dealt with it was because the people who were impacted by what we were doing were telling me, this changed my life, this inspired me, this helped me. You came and you spoke somewhere and it touched me. And I said, God, this is what you want me to do.
Yeah.
I said, it is in that moment that media is my ministry. It was the people. And that is the same reason why it don't matter what kind of day I'm having to this day. Because those are times I was having bad days too. Yeah. Those same people are the ones that lift me up when when they had no clue. They had no clue. I remember I had already made a decision to leave television. Somebody sent me a message. I watched this show because of you. I love how down to earth you are. Because remember, I started off trying to be like everybody else. Yeah. It was when I literally truly and fully embraced who I was and what my voice was, whatever that voice was. Because I look at voices as, you know, I know one of your questions is going to be like, how do you find a voice, right? I have so many of them. Yeah. You know, when you're a baby and I look at my son, you know, he's 6 now. He has already had like 6 different voices. You got your little itty bitty baby voice, and then it just starts to mature. And as you get older, it starts to deepen. And, you know, it's the same way. Yeah. I remember the first time I found my voice, I've always felt invisible until I was in the 7th grade. And it's so funny. You remember Bentley. If you didn't know, you better ask somebody. Yeah. The Outkast song. I love Outkast, right? And the Mr. Bentley, right? Mr. Farnsworth Bentley. I had to do a book report on Jumanji, right? And everybody had to do something creative. I wrote a rap. I wrote a poem. I wrote Jumaja. However you spell Jumanji. It lined up. I said, if y'all know, y'all better ask somebody. I rapped my book report. My teacher, and we had a group assignment. So I did everybody's part. I wrote all their verses. And my teacher was like, see, Miss Young, I still see her to this day. I love you, Miss Young. Miss Young, she pops up in random places. This lady, she nurtured me. That same year I lost my grandma too, and she continued to encourage me to write. The next year I did poetry. She was trying to get me in poetry competition. She's like, my gosh, you did that with a pen, girl? I said, yeah, girl, I did it with a pen. First voice. Second voice, started rapping. Remember in the 10th grade, when my homegirl was dating this dude, and they rapped, and we went to the house, and my homeboy Lakeith Keys, we was rapping. And I wrote these bars. I just came up and just started rapping. And it was like, yo, did 2 tracks that night. I sang on it. You know how, and I loved Brandy growing up, right? Yeah. So I did all my parts. Like I did like a little going up part, a little going down. Like I'm doing all the runs and boy, that thing was fire. That's still one of my favorite songs I've done to this day. I used to rap, y'all. I did music. Then I started performing. Yeah. I had a show every weekend. Out the Barnes Entertainment. I still work with Out the Barnes Entertainment. We just all do media now. I mean, I had shows. I got a microphone. I'm rapping. People are listening to me. So I knew I was going to have a mic in my hand. Yeah. Then Bible Boy talk about rap. Want you to rap on the New Year's. Like I did the watch night rap. I did a watch night rap. You understand? I'm rapping to the kids. I mean, even though I was rapping in the, secular world, I ended up doing gospel rap after that. Yes. I know you probably like, what you do? I mean, I would be at New Brooklyn Tavern, Cave. I mean, I'm rapping holes in the wall. I had a gig in Orangeburg when I was in the 10th grade. Like, I had been doing shows. I'm shy by nature. But for some reason, when I'm talking to people or I'm rapping, I'm boom, boom, boom. Same thing with TV. For the longest I couldn't talk in front of my phone when people started doing the video chats and things like and like recording and actually putting it out there because it felt weird and I hated my voice and I did radio too. Yeah. I hated my voice. I've always had like a deep voice as a kid. I mean, I remember being 8 years old. My aunt recorded a video and I'm doing knock jokes and I sound like Tony Braxton, but Tony the Tiger too. Just very great, just very deep voice. And for the longest I hid from my voice because it was so deep and I didn't like it and I didn't think people cared to hear what I had to say. But for some reason, when you have a microphone in your hand, people, you loud, you get their attention, they looking, they watching, you know. So my voice has evolved and it's still evolving. And when I first saw the question that you was gonna ask, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I have a voice. And then I had to think about it. Like, girl, you've had plenty of voices.
Yeah.
Because I'm still trying to find my voice, the voice. Like I'm very, I don't say the things that I feel here.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anything that I say to anybody to be misconstrued. I don't want anybody to think, because I overthink. I overthink, and I always feel like I have to explain why I make a decision and why I'm saying what I'm saying, because I feel like if I don't, people are going to perceive what I say negatively or in the wrong way. I like to give people a whole explainer, and people don't want the explanation because I'm trying to explain to you my reasoning for why I'm saying what I'm saying and doing what I'm doing. But I want to find the voice, because this is where I am now, looking for that voice where the confidence just pours from it. I need more oil in this season. I want to mature. I want my voice to be more mature. I want to feel how people see me. I want to be what this image that I've created, because I'm still not that. People are like, you're this, you're that, and I'm like, not to me.
You know what? Something that that's so funny you said that. I was in therapy, because I be in therapy every
Shout
week.
out to my therapist.
I be dropping that guap on that therapist. Come here, doc. But something she said to me, I don't know, a month or two ago, we were talking, and she's like, you're never going to experience the you that people experience when they encounter you. Never in your life will you ever experience what people experience when they are looking at you, when you're talking to them. And I hate that, but I find so much beauty in it. But it's like, I know that I'm never going to, like, the way I know to organically pour into some, or the way know how, you'll never know what that feels like. From, you know what I mean? But the silver lining is that you're producing it. Of course, it's divine production, but it's coming through you in such a way that it's already organic. Yeah. Like, you're already the voice that you're looking for. And I think that, like you've sat here and you've celebrated every voice, every stage, every period, every era of Sierra. And
Sierra.
The Sierra.
I like that. I'm gonna write that down.
The Sierras, you've celebrated every milestone and every voice that you've had in this matriculation of life. But what really sticks out to me is that I don't even think that we realize that we are already, in so many ways, the thing that we're looking for. Life keeps reminding me that so often, like, everything that you look for in yourself, like, you've already got, if you're thinking that you're looking for that, you're already producing
the validating. You've already, you just want to validate. You want to feel what you. Yeah. And you know what else? It's like, when you are that nurturing person, because you're a nurturing person too, whether you feel like you are or not. You minister to yourself when you're talking to people.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be telling people, because I've always been that friend to give advice, but I always felt like, man, I don't have that because I've always been that shoulder for everyone else, because I know what it's like to not have one.
Yeah. But
in that moment, that's where we should also find our comfort, because it's like, do you not realize that you are doing that for yourself? Yeah. Take what you're saying to this person and apply it to your own life, your own situation. But sometimes I just feel like somebody should just tell me what to do, because I'm tired of trying to figure it out. I need someone to tell me straight up, Sierra, don't do that. Maybe that a good idea. I think the fear of the unknown is really what really drives people or parks them. Because I feel like you want to make a decision, you want to leap, you want to step out, but I don't know what results will yield from it. So you fear because you don't. Sometimes we're not necessarily or financially or mentally in a space where we can make that jump or take that risk because we know what the repercussions are if we fail.
Yeah.
Failure is okay. But when you are not financially or mentally, what's the word, rich enough, I'll just put it that way, it's not in your financial or mental budget.
Yeah.
It's like you can't make those risks. No. You can't take those risks because it's like, yo, like I got things to lose. Yeah. You know, but sometimes you gotta bet on yourself.
I think that it's always a good time to bet on. It's always a good time to bet on yourself. It's always a good time to bet on yourself, even in the scariest of scary moments. You know, it's always a good time to bet on yourself. And I will say that you have been such a pillar in the community by creating a platform such as Soda City Live, because there's so many, small Black businesses, Black and brown businesses. There's so many of us that would have never been. I have had so many people, text me, DM me saying, "Oh my God, like I'm going to be on TV." And to us, you know what I mean? What you got? I go to.
Some days it's just a regular day for us.
Yeah, it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
But seeing people, I love to see people, first get on TV, and you seeing their family just support them, and I know that that's because of you. Like there would be no platform. And so I just want to give you your flowers,
thank you.
From friend to friend.
The hell of flower pillow.
This flower pillow. And thank you for being such an amazing pillar of the community, for bringing so many thought-provoking topics to life, and for supporting equality and diversity and inclusion the entire way, and behind the scenes, you're the same person that you are in front of the camera, and that is invaluable. Before we dip out, is there any last words you want to leave with the audience?
Yes. So I really love what you said, and I thank you so much for the words of affirmation and endearment.
Ashe.
But I've always felt like this. You come into this world with a name, you leaving with that same name, give or take. And for me, my reputation has always been what I've guarded. And I think sometimes I get defensive because I know how I want to be perceived. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the day got to end.
Okay.
Everybody has to die. And it's what drives me and what makes me want to be consistent in every area and aspect of my life. Your character will speak for you. If I'm ever in a situation and someone says, Sierra, she did this, somebody said that's not her character. That's not who she is, because Sierra has been consistent. Yeah. That's not her.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people come to bat for me and say, hey, that's not her. Yeah. That's not who she is. Yeah. Because I'm one of those people, I want to talk it out. I don't want anybody to have a bad experience with me. And at the end of the day, I think about when I die, what will people say about me?
Yeah.
And I think that's how we should live.
Yeah.
How do you want to be remembered?
How do you want to be remembered?
How do you want to be remembered? Not necessarily what will people go to the podium and say, because, baby, I got a list of people who are blocked from the podium because you might say too much.
Don't come to church.
It's not the bad thing. It's not going to be anything bad. Just be like, baby, we was outside, and I just need you to keep that on lock and key. Keep that in your memories, love. But how do you want to be remembered? What do you want people to say? What legacy do you leave? I remember my mom used to have a clock that had footprints in the sand, that poem about God and walking with God. How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah.
Live like that.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, James, just from being, even if I didn't get anything else out of WIS and working in television at WIS and doing Soda City Live, I got you out of it. And I think about how I will remember you because you live in that every single day.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are, whatever platform you are on, you are doing it, you've been doing it, and you will continue to do it.
Thank you.
So I give you your flowers too.
So much. Y'all, well, how can people contact you? What's the best way to get it? Now, don't give me your personal number, but what
my website, SierraArtemis.com. Everything is there. My LinkedIn, my Facebook, social media. That's SierraArtemus.com.
And if you forget, then use your phonics.
Yes.
Okay.
Something will pop up. Sierra Artemis.
It's gonna pop up.
Gmail, info@SierraArtemis.com. All of the things. And I'm always open to MC. I MC events. You got a birthday, weddings, divorce parties, circumcision parties, baby sprinkles, baby showers, anything.
Quinceañeras.
I like speaking to the youth. If you have any youth organizations where you need some empowerment, anything. I'm with it all, and I love it. And I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Black Queer Culture Show. I'm your host, James Patrick. Thank y'all so much for listening and watching, and we will see y'all on the flip side.
Thanks for having me.